Hey everyone, welcome back to Keeping Up with the Chaldeans. I'm your host, Junior Binno, along with my co-host, Anthony Toma. And our special guest today, we've got Shaun Mansour from Mansour Legal. Today, Shaun's going to be discussing and diving into the medical and recreational cannabis industry here in Michigan. Shaun comes from a law background and has invested time into it, so he's got a lot of good answers, and some of the questions that you may be able to provide, this gentleman seems like he's got them for you. So let's introduce you out here and give these audience a understanding of who you are and what you do.
Thank you, Junior. Thank you, AT, for having me on this show.
My man.
Thank you guys for everything you do for the Chaldean community. We really appreciate that. So yes, my name is Shaun Mansour. I run Mansour Legal. I'm a cannabis attorney. Just a little bit about myself. I live on the east side. I'm very proud of that. So East Siders.
Yeah.
I'm married. My wife's my biggest supporter, and I have two beautiful girls at home, both under 2 years old. So
God bless.
I'm very busy right now.
Yeah.
God bless.
A little bit about my practice. I started off litigating for a couple of years. I'd always wanted to be a solo practitioner, so I ended up opening up my own practice after I got some experience.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up doing criminal defense for about 2 years, dabbled in a lot of cannabis criminal defense,
Sure.
which sort of led me into the licensing aspect. There was less and less criminal cannabis charges, so that led me into the licensing aspect, and since 2016, it's been what I've been doing ever since.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So I'm interested and I'm looking to get into the industry. Anthony and I want to do something. And what's our first step? We come to see you, and then where do we go from there?
Okay, so there's a few different aspects of the law. We have the caregiver laws that were set up in 2008.
Okay.
We have the medical laws that were set up in 2016.
Yep.
We have the recreational laws that were set up a few years later.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with the medical laws. We can
Sure.
touch on the caregiver stuff later if you guys
Perfect.
don't mind.
Yep.
With the medical laws, which came out, it's the MMFLA, the Michigan Medical Facilities Licensing Act.
So you got the 5 licenses?
So there's
Just
5
roll-
license types
Yep.
that you can apply for.
Yep.
If you hold the dispensary, cultivation, or processing license, you cannot hold a testing license.
Wow.
You cannot hold a transportation license.
Okay.
Okay. There are different requirements for applying for each license type.
Yep.
But generally, what the state is going to do, they're going to do an extensive background check on you as an individual. They're going to make sure that you pass the criminal background, the financial background. They're going to ask whether you filed any bankruptcies. They're going to ask whether your taxes are up to date and paid.
Sure.
They're going to want to know if you've committed any felonies, and those are going to have to be disclosed to the state. They do an extensive background check so that they know that the person that they're giving a license to is a responsible person who's not out there committing
Right.
crimes. And
Yep. So wasn't there a little bit of a more difficult time for that license than it is now? Because I know in the past I had heard others had a bigger hurdle to come across. So now what's some of the changes that's now been implemented that?
yeah, so it was a big hurdle, especially for Chaldeans.
Yeah.
Towards the end of 2017, the state had set up a licensing board that vetted these applicants and ultimately decided whether they're going to get a license or not. And that board just went above and beyond the requirements of the licensing. I'm talking, they were looking at people's Facebooks, Instagrams. They were doing research on applicants that just wasn't appropriate and wasn't within the guidelines of the application
Sure.
and law. So thankfully, our governor got rid of that board. Okay, there is a board within law now that reviews the applications,
Yep.
but it's much smoother. They've made it much easier for applicants to get approved. Not to say it's very easy to get approved, but
Right.
easier than it was. It
Sure.
was a huge hurdle. If you've talked to anyone in the industry, I mean, they had to jump through 20 hoops just to get that license.
Yeah.
So it's become much easier, thankfully, for our clients.
Yep. And Anthony and I walk in and we say to you, look, Shaun, we're hiring you in right now. That application, what's some of the requirements, one, for that's needed, and two, that made some of the hurdles happen?
Okay,
So hold on, but we keep talking about applications. So
Yes.
the application process is a simple process. What you're offering is more than just an application.
yeah,
right?
absolutely. I'm more of an advisor.
Yeah.
But part of what I encompass in my business is preparing the application for
Right,
the
right.
applicant. Yes. So navigating through that can be difficult. You know, most people can put the application together.
Yeah.
But if you've never seen, you know, some of the issues that arise,
Yeah.
you're not going to know what to do with it.
Yep.
You may get a question from Laura and you don't know how to answer it.
Sure.
Whereas our office has seen it 100 times.
Yep.
Yeah.
Something to keep in mind with these applications, it's not just a checklist that you fill out.
Right.
You know, it's a totality of the application. A lot of people come to me and say, hey, Shaun, I got this felony from 6 years ago. Can I apply? And I'm like, well, maybe.
Yeah.
It just
Look at the
depends.
felony.
Have you rehabilitated yourself? Are you a taxpayer, a businessman? Have you been contributing to society? Things of that nature. So the state wants to see all that.
Sure.
So our office does a really good job of preparing the application so that it's a presentation
Yeah.
of the applicant and not just a checklist of here's my W-2s and here's all the taxes I've paid. It's more so,
Yeah, it's not always just black and white. You want to paint a picture. You want to paint a color
Yes.
picture.
correct. And
That's the hurdles I was speaking in regards to that is what do, like, after we get that and we fill that, what some of the stuff that would, like, give us a little bump in the road for Anthony and I, that and the viewers can know to get ready for you, to make it easier so they don't run into that, because time is a pain in the ass in this industry.
Absolutely. Well, we can start with the capitalization requirements.
Sure.
And let's pick a license type. So dispensary license, the provisioning centers.
Mm-hmm.
The applicant has to be worth $300,000. When I say the applicant, it doesn't necessarily mean the individual, because an entity can apply as well. So if you two partnered up, started a company, that company could apply to the state.
Okay.
And you could bring $150,000 worth of value, $150,000 worth of value.
What do you consider value? Is it
Your net
capital?
worth, your capital, your net worth essentially.
Okay.
And there's also some liquidity requirements as well.
Okay.
So you got to be worth $300K for the provisioning center license.
Does your house count?
Yes.
Okay.
The equity you have in your house.
Equity in the house.
Yep.
Okay.
So if you've got a mortgage on the house, you minus that off of the value of the home.
Yeah.
And the equity you've built into your house goes towards your net
Gotcha.
worth.
Gotcha.
Beautiful.
Okay.
You also need to have 25% of liquidity. So of $300,000, you need $75,000 in cash in the bank.
Okay.
Okay, and things that count towards liquid is your stocks, your bonds, readily available cash, line of credit, something you can access. Okay,
Yeah.
the state's going to want to see that. How we prove that to the state, that's done by a CPA, a professional, a CPA that's in this industry that essentially signs off, and they've done their due diligence.
Sure.
They've proved to the state that you have these assets, and they
Yeah.
put their stamp on it, and the state is trusting that CPA's signature.
You recommend any CPA that's in the industry right now that you can have the viewers that maybe
Absolutely.
work
I work with Chris Dello on the east side. Simon Gumma is a very popular CPA as well. Jason Alcamano is another CPA.
with? Okay.
What I typically tell my clients is use the CPA you're comfortable with. If you have a CPA that you've been using for 20 years, they've done your taxes, they have all your accounting, and they dabble in this space, use that CPA.
But so any CPA can put their stamp on it. It's not like
Specific, no.
Nope,
Right,
it's
right.
not a specific license.
Okay.
But, you know what, I will say this. A lot of CPAs are reluctant to dabble in this industry because of the federal rules.
Yeah.
So I've talked to some CPAs that just stay away from it altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so...
So I did hear of Simon. I think a young lady named Charlene works for him.
Okay.
Who recommended him. So we're trying to get him on the show too. So I didn't know that that's the side that he's working heavy.
Absolutely,
So
yes.
It's great.
He does the accounting and the tax.
Sure.
He's got a number of clients in the space that actually have the businesses, have cultivation sites and
Yep.
dispensaries and whatnot.
Yep.
And he does a really good job. He's got a great reputation in the industry.
What would your advice be to someone that's in the space but doesn't have all their I's dotted and T's crossed, but they're actively growing already?
What do you mean?
No
Yeah.
pun intended.
So
Yeah.
they're a caregiver maybe?
Yeah.
And they want to enter into the legal market?
Yes.
Okay. The first thing I tell them is to get your finances right. The state does not want to see heavy cash deposits into your bank account. So if you're making money in other spaces and you're depositing heavy cash, they don't want to see that. They want to see that you're working, okay, that you have a job, you provide W-2s. And I recommend, especially the little guys that come to me. You know, I get a young guy that comes to me, he's 21 years old. Shaun, I want to get into this industry. How do I dive in? And I typically recommend that they build a team. It's really hard to do this on your own.
Yeah.
You know, unless you have the capital and the means to do it on your own, it's really beneficial to develop a team, partners, an attorney, a CPA, an architect, a surveyor, and the whole nine. And this team that you develop helps you get from A to Z. And that's what I really recommend is to get your finances right, to hire the attorney.
Seems you're the first and foremost important part of the puzzle.
Yeah, and that's
you're the first step, really.
and what I tell most of the people that I sit with for the first time is I'm not just here to prepare your application.
Right.
I'm more of like a cannabis coach, if you want to call
Sure.
it that. I can help guide you from A to Z. And a lot of times I'm not even getting paid for it. But it's if a client hires me, they have a few extra questions about the process as they move down the line,
Yep.
no problem. part of the joy I get out of all this is seeing my clients be successful, especially within the Chaldean community.
Yep.
I love seeing it. It brings joy to me to see our people excel in this industry, and we've done a very good job with it. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
Sean, right now you're entering into another arena right now because we flipped on the recreational at the beginning of this year, right? So it was actually lit January 1st for us to be able to say Michigan is now a rec state.
Yes.
It changed the game a bit because now you have stipulations. You have some areas that are medical, some areas that are medical and rec, some that are just rec right now. Help the viewers understand what are the issues they can tackle out by knowing medical rec, and just rec.
Okay. So as of today, you cannot apply for particular rec licenses unless you're already grandfathered and you have a medical pre-qual, which
Sure.
means you're pre-qualified by the state for a medical license.
Okay.
Not a license, I'm sorry, it's not a license, it's a pre-qualification. Okay. In order to get a recreational pre-qual, you actually need to be up and running. So the facility needs to be open for you to get a recreational pre-qual to apply for a recreational license in the state. So as of today, if someone comes to me and wants to enter the space, they have to start with a medical pre-qual. On March 1st of next year, that's going to change.
Okay.
And you can just dive in and jump right to a rec pre-qual.
Okay.
But as of today, you got to start with the medical pre-qual.
Okay.
Okay.
What should people do today to get positioned to enter the recreational income march? Call you?
Yes. Let's backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
The first thing I ask a client is, what do you want to do in this space? Do you want to be a retail guy? Do you want to be a cultivator? Do you want to be vertically integrated? Do you want to own all aspects
What
of
if
it?
I don't know?
Well, actually, just to backtrack on that, you actually have to be zoned in particular. So you, as the person, somewhat has an idea to say that property.
No, you're jumping ahead.
Okay.
Because
Money.
No, because what we're talking about, the pre-qualification, I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people don't know that.
Okay.
When you apply for a pre-qual,
Yep.
you don't need a property. It's not dependent on location.
Yep.
You don't need a piece of real estate. You're simply pre-qualing the entity. The entity's doing the background check, and yourself, the individual, who's the owner of the entity.
Okay.
Okay, so
Which is nice because they're saving you the time of
Yes.
all of securing, putting money out, and then you come back and you're just not the guy.
well,
or
what's
your
nice
team
about
is
it,
not the guy.
AT, is you get 2 years. So that pre-qual lasts so you get 2 years to dabble in the industry, look for properties,
Oh, nice.
work with different municipalities, and you can also renew that after 2 years.
So how much would it cost me to come to you and say, hey, I want to get a pre-qual?
Okay.
And then what am I getting a pre-qual for?
My fees are dependent on how many applicants,
Yep.
the type of entities. You know, if it's an entity with 5 different partners, the fee will be different versus you come to me, you and your wife come to me and want to do a pre-qual. So the state charges $6,000 for the pre-qual when you apply. It's a non-refundable fee.
Okay.
Okay, that's really the only fee prior to getting your license that you have to pay to the state. You may have to pay your CPA for that attestation.
Yep.
But when it gets down to applying for what they call a step 2, so this is broken down into 3 phases. You have your application, your pre-qualification. Then you have your municipality. You obtain a property. You do your architectural work. It's in the zone. You do your city application. The city gives you what they call an attestation, which is an approval letter for that piece of property. In turn, you take your pre-qualification, the approval from the municipality, you go back to the state with what they call a step 2 application to receive licensure. That's when the state will actually come out, inspect your facility, you pay the licensing fee, which is $21,000 for a new dispensary today, and they'll give you a license. So that's the
what
fees
it's
you're looking at. $6,000 at the pre-qual. So you're exposing yourself to $6,000 at the pre-qual phase, and you get 2 years to dabble in this industry
yeah.
and go and look for a property without spending all the big bucks.
And
Right.
so did some people get benefited right now during COVID? Didn't it extend it because of the COVID? I heard the state had given extensions on
Yes.
the people that were
So the pre-qual used to last a year.
Yes.
And now it changed to lasting 2 years.
Okay.
Which has been a big benefit to
Huge.
many of my clients, because
Yep.
a lot of my clients went a year and couldn't find it. Here's the biggest issue with the industry today. The state is pushing the licenses. They've made it legal. They're encouraging municipalities to opt in.
Correct.
The problem is these municipalities are not opting in,
No.
and for various reasons. The majority of them because they're just scared. You know, they don't want to be the guinea pig.
Right.
They want to see somebody else do it first, and
But aren't there enough guinea pigs?
I think so.
You got 47 counties in the state of Michigan, right? And you have ones that are neighboring to each other that will.
It's a county thing or a city thing?
It's a city.
It's cities, but I'm saying to you have counties that will sit next to each other, and they weigh it out first to see what counties bordering them usually, like that's what I've seen in the pattern. They kind of weigh out to see what county by county. Then little cities within the county will start dabbling as what they'll do. But it's crazy because you can have such major gaps. Like you have a guy on Walled Lake, and the next suburb is going to be Ferndale, or it's, you know what I'm saying? So
are we seeing a party line, kind of one party leaning, city leaning one way and another party leaning the other way? Like, is it?
Not necessarily.
Nothing
really
to do with
weird.
that.
There are certain municipalities that the Democrats are for it and the Republicans are not.
Right,
And then
right.
vice versa in other municipalities.
Yeah, it's strange.
So yeah, it's not. It doesn't seem to be
no
a
rhythm,
party
no
thing.
rhyme. There's
Yeah.
no rhythm, no
You know,
rhyme.
from a more liberal democratic standpoint, obviously we want to make marijuana legal. They want to make marijuana legal federally.
Yeah.
And from a more conservative Republican standpoint, it's more business-minded, free market capitalism
Right.
operating within
Yep.
an industry. So
Yep.
yeah.
And I was
So
gonna
what's the easiest path to getting involved and being legal?
Well, there's two different people that come to me.
Okay.
So Anthony comes to me and says, "Sean, I got nothing. I just want to get pre-qualified. I want to dabble in the industry. I want to do my due diligence. I have no property. I've not worked with any municipality. I've not lobbied with anybody."
Yep.
You're the guy I say to, "Okay, are you 100% sure that you want to do this?" You say, "Yes, I definitely want to be in this industry."
Yeah.
So I say, "All right, let's get started with the pre-qual today."
Yep.
Because regardless, you cannot enter into this market. You cannot derive a profit from this market unless you are pre-qualified.
Right.
So you're the type of guy say, let's get started on the pre-qual, and we'll set up your team, and you got to start looking for a property. Maybe Junior comes to me and says, "Hey, Sean, I've got this particular building in Walled Lake. Okay, and all I'm concerned about is this building. I don't care about any other municipalities. I don't care about looking for a license elsewhere.
Yep.
I care about this particular building." You're the different client that tells me, "I want to do a Class C cultivation license in this building." So I know exactly what I need to do with you.
What's a Class C?
And I'm glad you brought that up. There's 3 different types of cultivation licenses. There's a Class A, a Class B, and a Class C. The Class A allows you to grow 500 plants. The Class B allows you to grow 1,000 plants. The Class C allows you to grow 1,500 plants. And this is all under the Medical Act, by the way.
Yep.
And the Class C is allowed to be stacked. So let's say, for instance, you've got a 100,000 square foot building, and you can fit 50,000 plants in there.
Yeah.
You can stack those Class C licenses.
How many licenses do you need, and how many licenses is one single individual allotted?
There's no limit
Oh, shit.
on a single individual. How many you need is dependent on your building, and your
Right.
architect will tell you.
And your bankroll.
Yeah, and your bankroll,
Your
exactly.
bankroll. If you can, put a 400,000 square foot facility together, then you may need like 20 on that location
Yeah,
to
yeah.
do it.
From the pre-qual's perspective, other than, the amount you need to be worth, it costs the same. I charge the same, and the state charges the same. It's the $6,000 fee, whether you're applying for 1,500 plants or 500. So that's part of the advice I give my clients is, most guys jump like, "Oh, it's the same price. I'll get the 1,500."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Hold on, buddy.
Yeah.
Do you have $2 million
Yeah,
to put
right.
together this facility?" Because you have to consider that, right?
I'm glad you just said that. You just nailed a perfect point. So now Anthony's came to see you. I've come to see you. I'm in that position now. I have that property. I was that guy talking to you. I've got a 50,000 square foot property, and I can stack on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen this, and it's happening, where Sean will say, "Hey, AT, do you know Junior by any chance?
Yeah.
He's got 10,000 square feet to give up off it. Do you want to stack one of the licenses of yours in there?" When he meant stacking, just so the viewers know, is we can stack, but we can stack with different names. It can be, am I correct with that? Like, meaning like if I'm in a 40,000 square foot, we can have my license to have 40,000, and I can divvy up 10,000 to give Anthony's license his own in that same property. How do some of the guys now that they're doing these 100,000 square foot facilities and
Don't
they're
they
divvying
just
them up?
change?
You have to be
have
very-
a different address?
No,
or
you
something?
have to be very careful. I understand what you're asking. You have to be very careful. If any of those partners are deriving a profit from your facility or your portion of the facility,
Yes.
they have to be on that entity.
What about if it's just renting? So he's
You can rent, yep.
Now I've divvied it up. I'm saying to you, and Anthony's
It's a
taking
rental,
10,000.
yeah.
Now he's renting from me, and I got 40 next door. But that still classifies us as legitimate stacking Class C or whatever it is on that property.
Yes, but
So-
but that entity has to be
Yep.
licensed and
On
pre-qualified.
his own,
On his
not
own.
my money.
Absolutely.
Yep. So we got Anthony LLC in Suite A, and we got Junior LLC in Suite B, but
Absolutely.
we're separate. So
Yep.
we could do that. And you mentioned, tell the viewers why, because our community is coming together in regards to helping. So let
Yeah,
them know what you've seen.
You know, because we're on Keeping Up with the Chaldeans, we have to talk about the Chaldeans in this industry.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I can't say it enough. I'm so proud of our people for what we've done in this industry. We've taken it by storm,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a brand new industry. It's a niche. It really is a niche.
Yep.
And we've done a really good job with it. We've been very responsible with it. Not to say we've been perfect, but we've done a really good job coming together as a community. I see Chaldeans helping each other left and right. I mean, all the people that I work with, the CPAs, the architects, the surveyors, top to bottom, the electricians, the AC guys, it's Chaldean people coming together and putting these facilities together and working together, and it's a beautiful thing.
That's great.
Yep, it's a beautiful thing.
That's great. And so far, how much experience have you had, and have you done quite a few of these licenses so
Oh,
far?
absolutely. Yeah, I've done dozens of licenses. Thankfully, I've never been denied by the state.
Okay, I was going to ask.
Yeah, and that's a testament to staying on top of the law,
Yep.
keeping a good relationship with the state,
Yep.
and just asking the right questions and not being shy. I mean, I have questions. The law's ever changing. It's just
Sure.
constantly changing.
Sure.
I'm on the phone with Laura every day,
Yep.
asking questions, looking to get answers on certain things.
Yep.
So,
One step further,
sure.
you've now done Anthony and myself's license right now.
Okay.
We're done on the end of through the
On the
state.
pre-qual, you're
Yep,
saying.
on the pre-qual. We
Okay.
got the pre-quals. We're now, we've got our corporation in. We're good. Do you help us with, like, when I now got to nail the city down and go through everything with them too? Because there is some that ask for particular information that you got to do, and some don't. Some just let you freely just do what you got to do, and you're. So do you help us on that
Absolutely.
level?
I would actually say that that's the biggest benefit that I provide to my clients.
Okay.
It's not so much the application that I'm preparing.
Right.
In fact, if you took a deep dive into the application, you could probably figure out how to fill it out. But it's more so than just the application aspect of it. What I provide my clients is coaching from A to Z.
Mm-hmm.
You start with, you don't know anything about the industry. You want to get pre-qualified. I'll help you get pre-qualified. But then you're like, what do I do next, Shaun?
Yeah.
Right.
Right? So the next step is we set you up with a real estate agent. We set you up with an architect. We look for a piece of property within a particular municipality.
Mm-hmm.
You may even hire a lobbyist to go lobby with that municipality. So that's another aspect of it. And then the third aspect of it is submitting the step 2 application to the state to get licensure. And even more so than that is strategically planning for the future. Partnering with the right people, getting contracts with cultivators so that you can have inventory in the store.
Yep.
So I can connect with my clients with all different people within the industry.
Good for
Yep,
you, man.
absolutely.
And that's huge to put that all together, because unless we're invested into it, even if it was a caregiver program you were invested into for years and years, you still, the insight that you need, you sound like you make it easier for us to be able to walk through it.
You know who I help the most?
Yep.
Is my caregiver clients.
Okay.
Because those are the guys that are making a lot of cash
Mm-hmm.
and don't know what to do with it, but they want to enter into the legal market. And if you see me as a caregiver 4 months before you want to enter into the legal market, I can get you situated, get you put in the right position to start that. Because I'm telling everyone out there, the caregivers out there and the guys within this industry, I don't know if caregivers will go away soon or if they'll ever go away. We
Right.
don't know. But I would advise you to plan for the future. Have an exit plan or a transition plan into the legal market. Okay, don't just grow in a basement thinking this is going to last forever. Have that plan in mind to transition to the legal market. And in fact, the law was created for you. It was created for the little guy
Sure.
to transition into this market.
Sure.
So I encourage them to do that.
And to backtrack on what you said, you don't know if it's going to be here today or if it's going to be here tomorrow, or how many years it's going to last. It was voted in by the people. What stuff has to be done if the reversal was to happen for the caregiver program?
There's got to be a change made at the legislature, and you guys know that's a long process.
Sure.
So that's not going to happen overnight. But what I will say that's going on today that is concerning me and it's concerning to all my clients is the municipalities are cracking down,
Correct.
right?
Cracking
So-
down on what? How?
Yep.
On these houses, on caregiver houses. Many people are not pulling permits. They're doing unpermitted work, pulling electrical, AC, different things. And cities are coming in, fire marshals coming in, red tagging the house and saying this is a fire hazard. And if you guys don't already know this, municipalities have more power than the White House
Yes.
over their jurisdiction.
Yes.
Right? Local municipalities have the most power over their jurisdiction.
Yep.
So that's not a battle you want to get into. And that's another thing that I advise people. Come see me before you put up a caregiver spot.
Yep.
There's municipalities out there that are giving CFOs.
Yeah.
Certificate of occupancy.
Yes.
That's a beautiful thing. You get the blessing of the city to operate as a caregiver. You operate within the state guidelines, and you can go to sleep at night knowing that you're doing something legal.
Yep.
You don't have to look over your shoulder. It's a good thing.
You nailed it, brother.
Yep.
Just we've been down that path before. You know, on a just little slight note, it was the police didn't give a care when they did the walkthrough on us. We were in an industrial area, but the number one guy, like you said, that city inspector, man, he can shut you down, and he has more authority than even some of the police in the area. And if you don't comply, then he'll send the cops in and say, well, now we got to raid you.
They don't want their city on the news for a fire created by somebody growing in their basement.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even blame them.
Yeah,
I grew up in Sterling. I grew up in Sterling Heights. I grew up on the east side. I grew up in Sterling Heights.
Yeah.
Sterling Heights right now is dealing with
Hell.
more unpermitted homes, fires, transformers being blown, the whole nine.
Yeah.
And there was a fire in Sterling Heights yesterday.
Yes.
In a basement. And I got off the phone with the city attorney. We were talking about it. So I encourage the people out there who are growing, take the necessary steps to do it the right way. So that way you're not 3 days before your crop, the city's coming and shutting your power off.
Yeah.
And that's going on in a lot of houses, you know?
There's actually that gives me an idea to start a new website where if there's a fire, we alert everybody to go and get a contact buzz.
Sound the alarm.
Yeah.
Call it sound the alarm.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Sound the alarm, and then they're smell. But to what he's saying.
And on that note, I can't believe I even heard this. So the people that had the house
Yes.
took out the smoke detectors. We had children living in the home.
What the fuck?
So a fire started in the basement, no smoke detectors. We have to consider these things, guys.
Everybody got out.
You know, the cities are not out to get us.
No, they just want safety.
They want safety.
And if you understand some of the stuff that they push it, just so you know, you touch real quick. I've been selling the products for 2009, but they push the limits.
Yeah.
And they go over that 200 amp, not understanding that you're cooking the wire outside.
Yeah.
Some point in time, you got a fireworks show. 4th of July is happening in your backyard in the middle of winter.
Right.
City comes, inspector comes, your fire department comes, and your police come. Once that pops off, all 4 of those people, 3 or 4 people, are on your premises at that time. So, by the way, we're blowing through the roof right now, LEDs.
Oh yeah.
We can't keep them in stock because what he's talking about, they're shutting down and reversing.
Yeah.
You're taking ACs out, you're taking less light out, and you're putting this back in at half the amp. So now they're beating it that way, but still at the end of the day, they don't get it.
What you just said is exactly what I'm helping my clients do. So you come to me with a house in, let's say, Sterling Heights.
Yep.
And you've been red tagged, city inspector comes out, and they're pulling DTE records, guys.
Yes.
I'm telling you, they're pulling DTE records. They're telling me this is how much wattage your client is pulling from this house. So part of what I do is
that?
Because they know.
They're basically.
It's an indication that you are growing in that house.
Uh-huh.
And is that illegal?
Yes.
Yes, because you didn't pull permits, like you're saying.
Yeah.
You didn't do
Permits
things.
to do what?
You're not following the city's zoning ordinance.
Okay.
So we should say this. The cities have the ability to control the zoning aspect of it. They can't tell you can't grow in your home.
Right.
But they can tell you can grow in 200 square feet. You can't have 2 AC units. You can only have 1. You can't pull more than 200 watts. They can do that.
Right.
Which they've essentially downsized you to a 6-plant.
Yeah, your 12 rack is kind of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
That's all it is. And this is the way that he was saying they're combating it. Since they're not by legislation changing over the caregiver program, the municipalities are taking an effect on their own to do things to them, and it is messed up. But at the end of the day, I mean, call a spade for a spade, man. Some of you guys are reckless.
Yeah.
Plain and simple, the stuff that they do.
They're just uneducated. They don't know. And I don't mean
they're
uneducated
risk
in a
takers.
negative,
They're risk takers
negative
and-
way. It's just, you see an attorney. Go see an attorney. Go consult with an attorney. Consult with
We're Chaldean.
Sean.
We understand.
listen to
We're competitive.
SHAUN.
Listen to your electrician too. Listen to that
Yes,
guy who's
yeah.
telling you, bro, your shit's cracking outside. It's just
Guess
gonna
what? He
blow.
knows what he's talking about.
He knows what he's talking about. But Coach Shaun, man, you sound like the man that they can come in and give their questions too, and you got a shit ton to fire back onto them. The other question is, I know you deal with the legal, and you're an attorney as well too. We were told by like Vinar Ayar, he's a bit in this industry on the IRS. It seems like they're now tapping into the bill payments for DTE. That's how they're getting some of that information. So when you keep making the payments to the same machine through cash over and over, 8033 comes in, but it's also triggering the local police to see what the usage is all about. So
as soon as they consider it a fire hazard, they have the ability to go to DTE and pull those records. What they're finding now is, and I discourage people from doing this, you've got the DTE bill in one guy's name. You got a lease in another guy's name. The caregiver's another guy. It's just, that's not the proper way to do this. It's not the appropriate way to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And I want you to touch on this if you can, just to help them, because we do have a ton of caregivers. If they come into you, do a spot check at Anthony Toma's house, and if Anthony Toma does not have his caregiver cards on that wall, technically you're out of compliance. They will still cut your plants down and say, you never showed us what's on here. You're now showing it from your pocket to give us the cards, but it's not plastered up like it's supposed to be. So they still have the right to cut your, and you said it'd be a week before cropping.
Right now, it's pretty amazing to me. The local police departments, Oakland County Sheriffs, Macomb County Sheriffs, Lapeer County, they've stepped back. They're not raiding homes.
No.
They're not bothering the legal cannabis community at all. It's the guys that are, like you said earlier, being greedy or going over the top. And you're just asking for it at that point.
Right.
But look, guys, I started doing criminal defense in the cannabis space a few years ago. Transition into the licensing aspect of it and coaching. And I got to tell you, the criminal side business has gone down tremendously. If you talk to any criminal defense attorney in the cannabis space, their business has gone down tremendously. These charges are not coming. I've even got cops I talk to all the time. They're like, Shaun, just get them in compliance. We don't want to deal with it.
Right.
So guys, I'm telling you out there, just the cops want to work with you. Just don't be greedy. Do it the right way.
You might think you're doing it the right way, but why not ask an attorney?
Sure.
Or Coach Shaun.
The other thing is, that's not to say if they come to your home, knock on your door, to let them in. Okay. There's still protections that you're owed by the Constitution. You tell the officer respectfully, here's my attorney's card. You can contact him, or I'll have him contact you. There's nothing disrespectful about that. Officers understand how that goes. Okay. You just may not know. There may be something in your operation that's off that you just may not know. It's better to consult with an attorney before you let the officer in to inspect your basement.
And one major flaw I've seen within our community that I've tried to reiterate this over and over, because I had to take a big hit from it before. You can't just go in the city of Detroit because you found a building that's available and it's got 400 amps in there, and you just put the building up and fire up. They see the uptick in water, they see the power being used. They have every right. City of Detroit anyway does inspections every few years, for example. So they're going to come knocking on your door. But they still have the right, after you put $250,000, say, to put a facility up 30 days later, they can knock on the door and say, shut it all down, get out. We don't want you in here.
Absolutely.
So
unless you use Shaun.
Unless you use Shaun, he does the due diligence and tells you what you
If you use Shaun and listen to Shaun.
Listen to Shaun,
Because I have a lot of clients that use Shaun, do what they want, and then they call me 3 months later, I'm like, I told you not to do that.
Of course. So are you readily available for anybody in the industry right now? Are you taking new clients on right now?
Absolutely. Visit my website, mansourlegal.com. Visit my Facebook page, my personal page. I'd love to be friends with the guys in the community, not even necessarily just clients. I love connecting with people within this space, especially Chaldean people. Not that I don't want to connect with anyone else, but
you're located at
38550 Garfield.
Garfield.
Yeah, which is an odd spot in Clinton Township.
Cheated.
I'm not the guy in Troy, Royal Oak, or...
But you're all over, though.
Yeah, I am all over. Yep. And my cell phone is like my office. I'm on the phone all day. I'm not that guy that says, don't call me after 5 o'clock. I'm answering my phone on weekends at night.
We see you on social media too, so you're out there. You keep yourself relevant in the industry. You're part of groups that I've seen you on too. I never personally met you. I mean, we have acquaintances. You know what I'm saying? But it sounds like you got you're sharp as a tack right now with this, and you got your stuff in order to be able to help us. It's huge. We need it, because there's so many flaws that we can run into that can just step us back into a hurdle. That it takes sometimes it's a hurry up and wait game. And we get tired of that. So
absolutely. But I encourage our people to be patient. I encourage our people to follow the law, to take the necessary steps.
Sure.
And look, I'm not the guy, I'm not encouraging young people to smoke marijuana. I'm not out here,
None of us are.
I'm not out here saying we should be consuming marijuana. This is a business that we need advice on. As a community, we need to be advised properly so that we navigate through these channels properly. This is a legal market, and at the recreational standpoint, it's adult use.
Yep.
So by no means do I or my office advocate for the use of marijuana by children or the improper use of marijuana.
Good for you.
Something we didn't touch earlier is smoking and driving. It's become a huge issue, not just within our community, but within Michigan in general. So you've seen a lot of the crimes drop, but the OWIs, driving while intoxicated, those have risen. So that's something that police people need to keep in mind is do not smoke and drive, especially at the same time.
Yeah. Or smoke, text, and drive.
Yeah,
I do
it's
want-
terrible. Yeah.
I do want to give the viewers an insight, and maybe you're already aware of it, but state of Michigan, the state police department has created a 4-man team that is now the new DEA for this team. They're a marijuana correction. They come in and they check, they see your facility. This is not just for the licensing side. They're coming after the caregivers as well.
Okay.
What they do, because they just did this to a friend of mine, so people know, when you're rec, it's not, Anthony and I live in the house, we're 2 adults, you can do 12 and you can do 12, no such thing. It's only 12 strictly in that house. We had a friend of ours who had 16 outside because they thought there were 2 adults. The neighbor kept poking over the fence. The state guys came in, they chopped them off.
Hire an attorney, guys.
Well, I'm saying to you, like, just in that sense,
Okay.
they're doing, like he's saying, they backed off. It was a $125 ticket they gave him, like a seatbelt ticket.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Hire an attorney
Yeah,
anyway.
hire him, bring him in.
So we want to wrap this up. We're going to have you back on
Yes,
when
with a
Junior
panel.
puts together
That'll be
another panel, and we'll be learning more. We appreciate everything that you've given our viewers, all the advice. Call Shaun if you need more before you dive in. We close out every show with a quick question.
Okay.
What does it mean to you to be Chaldean?
It means everything to me. There's 2 things I'm very proud of. Number 1 being Chaldean, and number 2 being from the east side.
Yeah.
But being Chaldean is being a Catholic. It's being conservative in my values. It's being a family person. It's putting faith above all. And it's a blessing truly to have been raised Chaldean. I mean, I get told by people all the time, "You're very respectful." You know, you're very respectful. I'm like, that's
Why are you
because
surprised?
that's because my dad and uncles drilled it in my head. I mean, I tell this story to people all the time. My uncle Sam, Salim.
Yep.
I was 12 or 13 years old. Go over his house, and all the uncles, all the Amawatha are sitting down. You know, you got to go shake everybody's hand, right? So I go to shake all my uncle's hands, and my uncle must have been in his 80s at the time. Before I got to him, he was just a little kid, 12, 13 years old. He's just getting up and forces himself to stand up and shakes my hand. And I learned a lesson in that moment that you never shake a man's hand while you're sitting down.
Yeah.
Not everybody knows that, but I think that's a Chaldean thing.
Yeah.
That we've pushed through our culture. So there's so much about our culture we can share with other cultures.
Sure.
So just absolutely proud of it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Great answer.
Thank you guys for having me on.
Oh, yeah,
Thank
for
you guys
sure.
for furthering the culture.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate
Yeah.
you.
We're very happy to have you on, brother.
Signing off.
All right.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys. Till next time.
Thanks.